Welcome to the Women Leaders Association Daily Member Podcast, where we believe we go further, faster, and have more fun when we go together. I'm your host, Julianne Kirkland. And in each Daily Member Podcast, we will pick out a great speaker from one of our meetings that we thought you would enjoy. You can access hundreds of recent speakers, book summaries, great articles, and more at no additional charge through your membership portal. If you would like to get involved in a Women Leaders Association mastermind group or find a networking group near you, or if you just need access to the membership portal, simply go to womenleaderspodcast.com to be connected. Now let's tune in for this incredible message.
Great. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Columbus Women Leaders, for hosting such an amazing event. That really was a phenomenal panel. So I took a lot of notes and got some really good tidbits. So thank you, ladies. My name is Yingvi Keller, and I am Vice President of America's Channel Sales at Veeam. Headquartered in Columbus, Ohio, I know there are a handful of Veeamers watching in the audience who are also active members of the organization, and I'm truly honored to be here to represent them and the company. I've been with Veeam for about 6 years, and I've spent my entire 20-plus year career in IT. I started in tech right after getting my bachelor's degree, working for a local IT distributor, where I really learned the fundamentals and foundation of the industry. I eventually moved into manufacturing, working for HP and HPE for about 8 years prior to coming to Veeam. While most of my career has been spent in channel sales, I've held various roles in marketing, product management, and sales operations. Midway through my career, I had the opportunity to go back and get my MBA with a concentration in corporate finance. And it was at this time that I also considered leaving technology for various reasons. Fortunately, a mentor of mine convinced me to stay in tech. And today I am grateful every day for the opportunities and the current role that I have at Veeam. I reside in Anaheim, California with my husband, Andy, who also works in technology, and our 2 sons, AJ and Mason. Next slide, please.
Well, and also Veeam is one of our sponsors today. So thank you for everyone for your coordination.
Thanks so much, Ginger. So when I was asked to speak about my journey and more importantly, how I was able to get into a leadership role in a male-dominant industry, I reflected on all the resources and help that I received throughout my career. Help from women who came before me, who had more obstacles to overcome, but who recognized the importance of really leaning in and paving the way for those behind them. Today, I want to share my personal journey with you, but also resources that Veeam has available to help elevate women in our company and create a culture that is more diverse and inclusive. My hope is that by sharing this best practice, more companies and organizations will prioritize resources and investments to really help elevate and advance women within their own organizations. Next slide, please. So let's start with some stats. According to Forbes, the first time ever this year, women now comprise 10% of top US corporation CEOs. A 2% increase from previous years, and the first time ever hitting double digits. A huge milestone that we should all celebrate, but one that also reminds me that there's still so much more work to do to truly get a more balanced share. According to a report by National Center for Women and Information Technology, women make up only 25% of the workforce in the tech industry. The gap is even wider at the executive level, where women only hold 11% of leadership positions. While there have been some phenomenal contributions by women throughout history, like Marie Curie, a Polish scientist, and probably one of the most famous scientists of all time. In 1911, she was the first woman to win the Nobel Prize for her discovery of radioactivity. Anna Bissell, the highly ambitious and highly respected Canadian-born who was the head of the Bissell Carpet Sweeper Company and the first female CEO in the Americas. And while there have been so many more contributions today from women like Sheryl Sandberg, COO of Facebook, Jen Hyman and Jenny Fleiss, co-founders of Rent the Runway, we still have a long way to get the numbers up and further open more opportunities for women in tech. I firmly believe that change starts with each and every one of us. We need to work together to ensure that we're supporting one another and elevating each other and all women across the industry. Next slide, please. So whether it's an all boys club mentality or a lack of mentorship and training, many women often feel that they don't have the same opportunities for promotions and career advancement as men. I believe that this is partly because women aren't given the right tools to help them navigate what I consider the maze of work. Not only do we have to find the right path to become a leader on our own, we also aren't given the appropriate training or exposure for advancement. So think about the trainings that you've done throughout your career. Were the trainings specific to your needs as a female working in a male-dominant industry, or were they very generic? Did you get guidance on how to manage your job, position yourself for future advancement while balancing your personal life, let's say as a working mom? My personal experience has been that most trainings are generic and they're not specific and tailored to my current situation, whether professional or personal, to really be able to advance within my career. This was part of the reason why I went back and got my MBA, because I wanted to make sure that I had the skill set to really take on those leadership roles. What ends up happening is that women are left behind to figure out their own path to becoming a leader. Unfortunately, many women end up giving up and they don't get to that leadership level, or they leave the organization and industry altogether. As a first-generation immigrant whose native language is not English, I spent most of my life navigating the maze of life and overcoming roadblocks along the way. When I started my career in IT 20 years ago, I quickly realized that this was not a female-friendly industry. There's such a thing as the old boys club, and seeing females in senior executive roles was very rare. The one positive I did find was that the small group of female leaders were all aware of the inequity, and more importantly, they were passionate about making change. Fortunately, I was able to connect with a few phenomenal female leaders who ended up becoming mentors for me. They helped guide me and position me for opportunities and advancement. They helped elevate me and my journey while creating and leading programs and initiatives to help other women within their own organizations and across the industry. It is these women who have inspired me to really pay it forward, get involved, and help pave the way for those behind me. Next slide, please. At Veeam, we understand the importance of driving a diverse and inclusive culture and have created many employee resource groups for our associates globally. One resource group that is near and dear to my heart is our Women in Green initiative, which was created in 2016 and currently has over 400 members globally. In addition to my daily responsibilities at Veeam, I also lead our Women in Green efforts in the Americas, where our mission is to connect women of all stages in their career and assist in their development by fostering an environment that facilitates career growth and recognizes professional achievements. Women in Green is open to everybody, and I'm happy to say that there are a handful of male participants who have signed up to support their female colleagues and to really help further the movement. I believe Women in Green is a best practice that not only helps elevate women at Veeam, but also supports and addresses specific needs and challenges that we face every day. Women in Green elevates our female associates in 3 areas. First, we connect women across the company through local, regional, and global events. We also work with external organizations like Columbus Women Leaders, Girls Who Code, and Women of the Channel to help our members build and expand their network beyond Veeam. Second, we've collaborated with different groups within the company to develop webinars and a curriculum that addresses topics that many of our members view as gaps within their skill set. Topics such as learning business and financial acumen, or learning to lead, topics that are essential to becoming strong leaders. And finally, career growth, focused through mentorships and individual development plans. We are currently in the process of launching a 12-month coaching series for a small group of high-performing women that is specific and tailored to their needs, and will hopefully provide exposure and advancement into leadership roles at Beam. Our intent is to help retain the top talent while accelerating more women into these leadership roles within our company. All of this is supported by our senior leaders who see the opportunity and the need to advance and elevate women. I wish that this program and the resources that I just went through existed 20 years ago when I started in tech. Women in Green is just one example of how we can work together to elevate women in the workplace. Many of the women who lead this initiative that you see here on this slide do so in addition to their day job. It is their passion of making progress and change and supporting others that motivates them to get involved. According to a 2020 report from McKinsey, diversity is critical to IT performance. Diverse teams perform better, they hire better talent, have more engaged members, and retain workers better than those who do not focus on diversity and inclusion. I believe that women leaders can be even more impactful than their male counterparts when given the opportunity. Why? Because they've advanced by breaking down silos, they've learned to build collaboration, and they've persevered through so many different obstacles. I encourage you to look within your own organizations to see whether there are programs that can be launched, tools that can be created to really help women get into leadership roles. We all need to work together to help elevate and advance women in the workplace and ultimately change the face of the IT industry. So I wanted to thank you for your time and the opportunity today. It has been an amazing session. I hope that what I share resonated with you. And if there are any questions or if additional details are needed, please scan the QR code. You can also reach out to me via LinkedIn. And now I'll hand it back over to you, Ginger, and we can open it up for Q&A.
Yes, we've had some questions that have come in through the chat. And as a reminder, if anybody would like to ask a live question, you can raise your hand and I can unmute you. But let's go with some of the questions that have come in through the chat. Our first question says, how do you get support to start something like Women in Green?
Great question. I would tell you, I'm a firm believer that change starts at the top. And so while I didn't create Women in Green, we started in 2016. I know that the women who did create the initiative went to the most senior leaders and to get the support, right? And I think that there are a lot of advocates at the C-level who understand the need for a diverse and inclusive organization and culture. So I would say go find some of those advocates. If there are senior female leaders within your organization, I think you definitely need to tap into them. And then I come from sales. And so for me, it's about putting together the plan and showing why it's important to have these types of resources and initiatives within a company. You can kind of quote some of the stats that I shared. Companies are more, they perform better, they have higher profitability, they're more innovative and creative when they have a diverse and inclusive culture. And creating these types of resources and programs will help enable that.
That's wonderful. And to follow up on that, can you talk about how the mentoring and mentorship program, how does mentoring and mentorship work inside this program?
Sure. So we've tried it a couple of ways. We had where it was more to the masses, and it's worked. I now have a handful of mentees that I continue to mentor throughout the past 6 years within Veeam, but it doesn't get as deep from a relationship perspective, and there's not a lot of content around that. So we're now actually trying to go a little bit smaller and working more on a mentoring/coaching series that's a little bit more tailored to a small subset of members. And so you can kind of do it both ways. But I'm a big fan of mentoring and having mentoring relationship. I mean, I think at the beginning of my presentation, I talked about the women who came before me. I owe so much to them to help pave the way, but all the support that I was given throughout my career. And so a lot of women in the field that I'm in want to give back, right? And so it's a matter of asking, and if there are programs that are officially launched and put together, it makes it even easier to access those executives and really get an understanding of how they got to where they're at today.
Well, thank you for that. Well, I think we have time for maybe one more question. Then I'll ask you for some final words of wisdom before we move on to our final presentation of the day. And this is a fun one from Erin. And Erin says, what's the best advice you can give to someone like me who might be the only woman in the room? And she follows up to say, I'm also super short.
So for me, I've been in many of those situations. I've been asked to get coffee. I've been asked to take notes. And for me, I look at it, and this was advice that was given to me by a mentor. You are the only woman in the room. So use that to your advantage, right? So if you're going to make a comment and say something, make sure that it's impactful. Make sure that your voice is heard, and be strategic about what you're going to say and how you're going to say it. I think a lot of times we get scared and we're not confident because we're the only women in the room. I would say use that to your advantage, because guess what? Because you're the only woman, you're going to get more attention, and they're going to remember what you say. So make it count.
Well said. Thank you. Well, before we move on to our final presentation, do you have any final words of wisdom for all of our viewers today?
I would just say, I ended my presentation with, we all need to work together. And I do a couple of jobs during the day for Veeam, but I'm very passionate about Women in Green and all of the efforts that I do on the side. We need more women to participate and be proactive to pave the way for those behind us. So I encourage you to really get involved. And this event itself has been amazing, and I've gotten so much advice and tidbits from all of the speakers before me. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.
Always been a technologist ever since I graduated. I did my engineering, so I'm engineer by heart. And I've always been in technology, and I've worked with insurance and banking and financial sector throughout my career. I've always been in application development and data side of the house. Throughout my career, I can tell you most of my teams, I was the only female. But I am happy to see the change happening around. So the teams that I have now, I do see a good number of young female talent coming up. And I'm really happy to see that they're coming up, and, they're great. It's not like, oh, they're just coming in and just for the sake of putting in women in tech sector that people are pushing them. No, they're coming in on their merit, right? They know what they're doing, right? So almost every single day when I'm in one-on-ones, I'm talking about this topic that I'm going to be talking to you guys about is personal branding. So we can go ahead and, my presentation isn't huge because this is a topic that I can talk about for hours and hours without any presentation. And I know it's a very common topic, as in this topic is, I don't think this is something new to anyone. We all know it. It exists. In fact, this starts from very young age when you're in school. You're always busy with homework, your soccer classes, your swimming classes. You're always busy. When you get to college, again, you have an excuse. Your assignments, your internships, your part-time jobs. You're trying your best to get accepted in whatever role you're doing. And every time you change your role, you're starting from scratch, right? If only we had invested time in working on our personal brand, every time you changed your role, you wouldn't have to start from scratch, right? What do I mean by that, Nick? So what is personal branding? Not very difficult, not rocket science. It's not about you. It's about putting your stamp on the value you deliver to others, right? who are you? What value do you bring to an organization? Why should I consider hiring you? Why should I consider moving you up the ladder? Why are you important for me or for my organization, right? That's what is personal branding. We all know today, if I showed you, familiar signs, Nike, now all of us know, just do it, right? It's that brand that's right ingrained in us. And I don't even think twice when I go in to buy shoes. I do have a couple of running shoes that I'm always going to. Why? Because it's that brand that speaks to me. It's proven quality. It's the value that they bring in. I'm okay spending a little bit of extra money because I know what I'm going to get, right? I know this is durable from a quality perspective. It's going to last longer. It's going to be good fit for me. I'm not going to have any issues. And so I don't mind putting in that little bit of extra, but I'm going to go with that brand. So if you were to Google, or if you were to talk or you read about personal branding, there are tons of theories. These are just a couple of those that I've just put in. The 5 C's, the 4 P's, 5 A's, ABCD model or personal branding. And you will see what really they're talking about is your character, your confidence, the consistency that you bring in. Basically, how do you behave? How do you carry yourself? How are you getting perceived by others, in a consistent manner? That's literally what everything is depicted here in all these theories. So you can pick any one of these and you will still be working on your branding. Next slide, please. So what is your personal brand, right? It's in short, I would say how you conduct yourself, how people perceive you, what value do you bring in, right? If somebody was to hire you, if they already know you, they have seen your work, or they have heard from somebody, there will be like a one-liner about you. Oh my God, oh, you have to hire her. She's great at execution, great at personal relationship. Oh, she can, get your hard work done like this. She can manage people great. Those are the small, skill sets that they're talking about, that they have seen that you bring to the table on a consistent basis. Next slide, please. Anytime you start thinking about what is my personal brand, so I have to tell you, like I had mentioned, I do have a big, huge team spread throughout the world. And when I talk to them, and I ask them, okay, I want to know you more. I always say, tell me something about yourself, as in, who is Chris? Who is Rajesh, right? Who is Preeti? My question to them is that, and the answer invariably, except for one or two, invariably it starts with, well, I've been working with Chase from da 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 da, and I've worked in Java, I have worked with this, and then I come back to them, I'm like, that's great, but you didn't answer my question, right? Because that's not who you are. You're not like a person who codes in Java. No, I'm looking to know you. Like, what is it that you bring to the table other than coding skills? Because coding is something that I can get from a lot of people. What makes you different? What is unique to you? Right? How do you want me to remember you when I get off this call and I don't see you or I don't meet you for next month? Right? And somebody brings up your name, or in a presentation, I see some project which is highly visible. Do I recognize? Does that name, ring a bell? That is what I'm looking for, right? So when you're thinking about your personal branding, first and foremost, figure out what is your goal? What kind of brand do you want people to perceive you as? How do you want to market yourself, right? So your goal, who's your target audience? what kind of changes you might have to make. It all depends, right? Think about this. If you are in fashion industry and you really want to come across edgy, you want to come across that you know the trend, you know the customers, you know what's in today, right? The younger folks, what is it that challenges them when it comes to fashion. But if you walk in wearing something which is totally outdated, yeah, you have an understanding of what you want, but you're not presenting yourself that way. It's very difficult to take you seriously then, right? So you have to understand your target audience, and you need to understand what changes you have to make for yourself to be perceived that way, right? So you have to make required changes, whether it is creating the right relationship. Again, overall, if you go through the slide, it will tell you what you really need to do. In gist, what I'm trying to tell you is creating a brand is conscious effort. You have to make a conscious effort to create a brand that you want to sell. You have to market yourself. It does not happen on its own. And a lot of times we'll keep saying, like we did in school time, like we did in college time, we give excuses to ourselves. We keep telling ourselves we don't have time. I have better things to do, right? I have to finish this. And then once I'm home, I have to do 110 other things. Guess what? Whether you put in conscious effort in creating your brand or you don't, people are creating a brand out of you. Knowingly or unknowingly, they are perceiving you in a certain fashion. So I think it'll be better that you put in a little bit of effort to change that perception in a way that you want them to think about you, right? Because anyways, people are going to be perceiving you. So why not put in that extra time to put in those small changes in those actions? And I'll tell you, it takes work. It requires effort, conscious effort. There are times when I don't have that great feeling working with another partner, right, at work, but I know I have to get my work done. So how do I overcome that and prove to that person that I am being positive, right? Conscious effort on the choice of my words makes a huge difference. I am boiling inside, but I'm like, oh, greatly appreciate your help. Makes a huge difference because as you say that out, you yourself are calming yourself down and you're thanking that person and you're creating that awareness, not just for yourself, but for the other person that, hey, I am willing to work. But you are making a conscious effort to do that because it's very easy to let go of your emotions, whether it's in professional environment or it's at home. It's as simple as like a very good example. Most of you guys will know when you're talking to your kids, we always say they read the body language. They know what's going on between parents, right? If I don't do the role, I'm not a role model to them, they can pick up things. So I better use the words that I want them to use. If I don't want them to use the words that I don't want them to use, I shouldn't be using it to begin with, right? So you have to make that conscious effort, irrespective of which setting you are. You can't possibly have one phase at work and another phase at home. No, it's consistent. Discipline. What are your values in life, right? So again and again, I'll keep repeating that conscious effort. Can we move on to next slide? This figure, right? When you look at her, almost everybody knows who's Oprah Winfrey, the big O, right? Even she had to work on it. It didn't come in just like that. When she started off her career, she was given an afternoon slot, and she was competing against men, right? Again, who had good experience. They had viewers to that show, but she was authentic. She was being herself. She took on the challenge. And every time initially anyone would ask her, oh, you're a brand, she would reject that. And she would say, no, what brand are you talking about? But soon she realized that she is a brand, the authentic self, the way she talks when she interviews anyone, she is being vulnerable, right? She does not hesitate to talk about difficult experiences that she has had. Not everyone can do that in front of millions of viewers, right? But she is true to herself. She'll put out her opinions, uh, totally understanding that there are going to be people who will love her for that, and then there are going to be people who will hate her for that, right? But she doesn't hesitate. But she's very consistent about doing that. And so it took her almost 25 years to do that. It took practice, a personal brand grounded in authenticity. Like anyone and everybody knows who's Oprah. And today, if she picks up a book, that becomes famous. She picks up a pen, that becomes famous, right? Why? Because we believe that if she has put her stamp, means there's something in it, right? Now she's created that brand of hers that, she's not just going to pick up any book. If it doesn't make sense, she'll call it out. We believe in that. We believe in her. Margaret Thatcher, who doesn't know her, the Iron Lady of the West. It was super duper difficult for that lady to be in the parliament wherein she was the only female, all men around. Nobody had heard about a female being in the parliament. Initially, if you read about her, you will come to know lots of men, obviously, in the parliament made fun of her voice because her voice was very shrieky. And there was a reason for it, because there were men screaming at the top of their lungs. And so she had to scream to be heard, right? But as things went by and, she became the first prime minister, she had to really work hard to come across likable, as in people should be able to relate to her. She had to hire a speech coach. She actually had to hire a person who worked on her brand, on her dressing style, how she came across, right? And how she modulated her voice when she was talking, whether it was in parliament or giving speeches for the entire country. It was not an easy task. It was a conscious effort. She had to work on it, even though she was at that level. In fact, she had to work harder on that, right? Can we move on to next slide? And finally, Elon Musk. Who doesn't know him, right? Again, we all have our own opinions, but my point is he is at a place where he is not by chance. He worked on it. He's ready to give his 100%, and he carries his brand, right? If you read the slide, it will tell you for Elon Musk, changing the world isn't enough. He believes in it. He brings it to every idea that he throws out. His ambitions are multi-planetary, the ultimate goal to spread the seeds of humanity off Earth. Theoretically improves the chances that our species will outlive extinction level events. Now, normally talking, if I would have made that statement, people might laugh. Today, who's laughing? He believed in something and he worked towards this, again, conscious effort. It takes time, it takes effort, but he is true to himself, right? He took the time to work on it. So all I'm saying is, again, like I said, presentation is short. The message really is simple. Each one of you, whether you believe it or not, whether you work on it or not, you have a brand. It would be great if you put in conscious effort on it and make the brand the way you want to present yourself, right? It's very easy to give excuses, right? But if you really are serious about your career, if you're serious about doing something with your life, because you only get one chance. So I would say, hey, give your 100% to it. So put in your effort, work on your personal brand. It's not a one-time thing. It's something that you have to work on every single day consciously, right? Make a conscious effort. It's not just about your work. It's your ethics, your life ethics, your values, right? It will totally change your life. Trust me. Once you start looking life from that perspective, you'll be a role model for your kids. It'll be easy for them because they will be starting young. I would say, hey, take the plunge. Uh, get started with it now. Thank you so much for sharing, letting me share my opinions about it. Like I said, this is something very common topic, but we don't give enough time to think about it and, to start working on it. I would say, irrespective whether you are a man or a woman, all of us have to do this. So get going. Don't waste time. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. And yes, we've had a couple of questions that have come in through our chat. So I'll direct a few questions to you. And our first question says, what advice can I give to a coworker that she is damaging her personal brand? She's always late and she talks about her weekend lifestyle, but she's an amazing part of the team and very smart.
Excellent. Oh my God. I can't tell you that I have been in the same situation where one of my, colleague unknowingly, would always show up late on calls. When she puts in her own call, she's late to it, never sets out an agenda, does not come prepared. And it's interesting that it's not just me making that observation, but it's other team members making that observation. So I'll tell you, easy way out to help this person is to actually have a chat. It's always good to communicate, especially if you really think good about this person and you want to help them. Have a conversation and say, hey, this is my opinion and I really value you and what you bring to the table, but it's not taken the way you think it might be. So I just wanted to let you know, because a lot of times it happens that we think good about the other person, but for whatever reason, we hold it back thinking, oh, she might feel bad. But hey, you're a friend. You would want her to come in and tell you if something like this happens. So have an open communication, go out for a walk and just tell her that, hey, something is bothering me. I want to help you out. I know you didn't ask me for it, but I'll still blurt it out. Trust me, it will not go wrong.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Well, I think I'll let this be our final question of our panel. And if you have any, hopefully you'll have some final thoughts for our team. And this one from Hannah says, to follow up on Felicity's question, how do you convince people that you changed your brand? I started with my company as an intern, living with 4 girls in a 2-bedroom apartment. Now my husband and I have purchased a house and have a baby on the way.
Very interesting. Again, it has to be very intentional, right? And like I said, because branding is not a one-time thing, it will evolve, it will change, and you might want to change your brand as you move into different roles. You want to come across maybe differently. If you have, a good number of people under you, you want to be viewed as leader, you will definitely have to change course. Take a step back and figure out, as a leader, am I going to be giving them direction for every single step? That means I'm micromanaging. Am I going to be, showing some more trust and confidence? So my only ask to you would be, again, sit down, jot it down on paper. What is the goal? As in, what is it that you want to change? And then you have to make conscious efforts to actually make those small changes on a constant basis every single day. Maybe you respond to emails in a different way. Maybe when you talk to somebody and you end it, you always say, hey, appreciate your help, even though, it's not a big task, but you're putting that line, you're saying, hey, thank you for your time. Those are small changes that will change the way you get perceived. It will not happen in a day. I'll tell you that. That's why I said it's an ongoing process. It's not a one-time thing. Hopefully, I helped answer a little bit of your question.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, so as we
Absolutely.
wrap for the afternoon, do you have any final words of wisdom for all of our viewers today?
Absolutely. I think today was excellent because almost all topics are very much related. So if you think about branding, you have to be in a good state of mind. So the very first, speaker talked about positive intelligence, PQ, right? And then we also talked about upside of uncertainty, right? And my point to that would be life is not always going to be rosy. There are going to be ups and downs, but that's what shapes you, right? That's what your brand, your branding is going to help you get through it. It's okay to fall down. There are going to be times when you feel your corner, when you feel nothing is working. It's perfectly fine. That means universe is telling you, take a step back, change your course, right? At any point of time in life, when you feel that you're cornered, nothing is working, nothing is going your way, take a step back, pause, change course, right? Try something different. If you keep doing the same thing, you can't expect a different result, right? Whether it is branding, whether it is thinking positive, but always, every single day, do me a favor, appreciate yourself. If you can't appreciate yourself, there is no way in life you can appreciate others. If you don't believe in what you do, you cannot make others believe. So that's all I will say. All this comes into your branding. So appreciate yourself, choose you. Thank you.
Hey, my friend, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, be sure to rate, review, and share your biggest takeaway. And if you're wanting more, you can access hundreds of recent speakers, book summaries, great articles, and more at no additional charge through your membership portal. You can also get involved in a Women Leaders Association mastermind group or a networking group near you. Or if you just need to access your membership portal, simply go to womenleaderspodcast.com to be connected. Because here at Women Leaders Association, we believe we go further, faster, and have more fun when we go together. That's all for today, my friends. Bye for now.